I'm one of the greatest, ain't no debating on it. I'm still levitated, I'm heavily medicated. Ironic, I gave him love and they end up hating on me. She told me she loved me and she been waiting. Been fighting hard for your love and I'm running thin on my patience. Needing someone to hug, even took it back to the basics. You see what you got me out here doing? Might have threw me off, but can't nobody stop the movement. Let's go. Left foot, right foot, levitating. Pop stars, do a leap with the baby. I had to lace my shoes for all the blessings I was chasing. If I ever slip, I fall into a better situation. So catch up, go put some cheese on it, get out and get your bread up. They always leave when you fall, but you run together. Weight of the world on my shoulders, I kept my head up. Now baby, stand up, cause girl, you
want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. My life is like a rocket with your blast off, and I'm feeling so electric, down so awesome. And even if I get to a concert, yeah, 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 yeah. My love is like a rocket with your blast off, and I'm feeling so electric, down my ass off. And even if I wanted to, I can't stop. Yeah, 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 yeah. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. I got you, moonlight. You're my
I'm just
starlight.
gonna
I need
check it
you
here on YouTube.
all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
Okay, it's 205, 204.
All right. I'm glad everyone enjoys Dua Lipa as much as I do. We are going to keep letting people in, but I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping. For those of us joining through Zoom, welcome. Thank you for being here today. Please keep your microphone on mute. If you have any questions before the interview ends, you can send them directly in the chat to me. My name is Tita. I will see them. And if I don't see them, Jackie will catch them. We will make sure your question gets asked. This meeting has subtitles available. If you go to the bottom of your screen on the right, it says CC live transcript, and you can enable the closed captioning so that you can read along as well. And if you have any questions at all throughout, or you have any problems, you can message me as well. So I welcome you to the event, and I'm going to pass it to Elena or Roberta.
Hello, everyone. Before starting, I think it's worth making sure that we properly acknowledge where we stand on and the interdependence of where we are. A land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the sacred land on which the University of Toronto operates. It has been the site of human activity for 15,000 years and more. This land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petone First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississauga of the Credit River. The territory is the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Confederacy of the Ojibwe and Allied Nation to peaceably share and care for everything around the Great Lakes. It's a dish with one spoon, one plate, one tool to be shared mindfully between many people. Today, the meeting place of Toronto is still the home of many Indigenous people from across Turtle Islands, and We're all settlers, new migrants, indigenous peoples, grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community on this territory. And I will present myself. I'm Elena Basile. I am one of the people teaching, who's the co-organizer of Who Cares. I teach at U of T and at York University. And I'll introduce Roberta, who's the other co-organizer.
Hi. So as you see, we are in a class. So I'm just gonna take out the background. There you go. We are in a class. So my name is Roberta Bujani, and I'm part of the bilingual program in communications at York University, Glendon campus, and also I am a faculty in the New College. And this is the class from New College, is from this interdisciplinary program that is in that has started this experiment that I don't know if Oriana Salvatore will talk about, but I would really love them to explain what happened. So I would like to to thank our supporters. This series spans 3 institutions: York University, U of T, and the Fields Institute. And I would like to thank the general support of the Social Science and Humanities Research Council of Canada, New College at the University of Toronto, where we are here right now, and the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Study at York University. And we also wish to acknowledge the generous contribution of the Center for Feminist Research, Sensorium Center for Digital Arts and Technology, the Canadian Language Museum, the Department of English, and the School of Gender and Sexuality Studies. We also wish to thank the support of the Fields Institute for Research in Mathematical Sciences and many more. So I would like to invite Dr. Alexandra Gerson, who is the program coordinator of the new one, and she's here with me to say a few words about Who Cares and this event. New one is, as I said before, an interdisciplinary program, a New College here at the University of Toronto, which made this event possible by generously supporting this event and its pedagogical mandate of
For sure. I am very, very excited and pleased to be here to open this event of Who Cares, which is a very timely project that promises to enrich our understanding of the politics and ethics of care. And especially at the time we live right now, this is very, very important. This talk is the culmination of a week-long experiment led by Salvatore Iaconesi, Oriana, Persico, and their team at Nuovo Abitare with our students of Unpacking Digital Technology here at U of T and the students of Cancer Biopolitics at York University, Glendon campus. This experiment has profound critical, technological, and pedagogical value because it encouraged students to reflect on and to think beyond extractive data and technology and their technical complexities. As the coordinator of New One, I am especially welcome this approach. As Roberta mentioned, it really reflects on our mandate at New One on crossing, transcending, going beyond the borders, whether we think of borders in terms of disciplines, the borders in terms of learning, the public and the university. So this really fits well with what we believe in. So please join me in welcoming Salvatore Iaconesi and Oriana Persico today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, virtual applause.
Virtual applause.
And thank you. And I would like also to thank you all for welcoming us, and also our colleagues Stefano Capizzuto and Daniele Bucci, who you find in the chat, for bringing this all up together with us and Nuovo Abitare. I would like to start by reflecting about how many dimensions have entered this experience. This experience which was born during the pandemics, in which data was used systematically to divide the people. And because if there were too many diseased people of COVID, you would have to stay at home, separated from all the others. And if there were too many infection, you had to stay away from people. And we just could not accept it as artists and researchers. We wanted to find ways in which data could unite people.
And create empathy.
And create different empathies, no? So we actively searched for this. We call them rituals. In the Nuovo Abitare, New Living, that's our thought movement, we call them rituals, no? Rituals of the Nuovo Abitare, because they are rituals, and rituals are media. In which the media defines how you can dance, okay, around the ritual.
And around new type of fire, perhaps these are computational fires, but we dance.
So this is an approach which we follow. And let's focus a moment on what actually happened during this experience, because across from time zones, we in Italy and you in Canada, also the war entered, the war in Ukraine entered our experience, because as it happened, even this small classroom experience with the small server that we created to host this experience has suffered a part of the war, a cyber attack. No, and while we were doing the experience, many things worked, many things did not work. Among the things that did not work, there was this cyber attack. No, so it's really important and interesting for us to understand the implications of technology when applied to the freedoms of the people to self-represent themselves and self-determine themselves. Us in this small experience suffered from technologically from the war in Ukraine. No, in ways that probably contributed to the impossibility to self-represent ourselves
and connect
and express. No, so this is super important that in this globalized and hyper-connected world, we are constantly exposed to this level of complexity. No, oops.
Is something wrong?
No,
okay.
They can't hear us.
Okay.
Because
all good.
Okay. No, because we stopped seeing the the scene from the classroom. Here it is up top. First of all, we wanted to share with you the video from the last session
of data meditation, because we never say the word of this experience of this ritual. So during the pandemics, we thought about creating a new ritual, an ancestral ritual, which goes across countries and cultures, which is about meditating. But through data. So meditating through data, so that and through computation and in ubiquitous space, so that data, instead of what Salvatore said during pandemics, could bring people together and create a way in which data were used and were able to connect and to create this empathy. So what you will see is a translation, is a computational translation of what an ancestral ritual such as meditation can be done in the area of, big data or networks or ubiquitous technology.
So what will you see in this short video?
And it happened, we created this in 2020. Okay, so exactly the first time we held a data meditation was in July in an international summer school in Amsterdam in July 2020. So this is our reaction and our way to consider the pandemic's time.
This video is generated from our experience of these days.
So this in Toronto with the class.
It's Elena's video, generated by us since she kindly gave us her password, because some things were not working, and instead they were working for us. So we generated her video, and
so that we can all see this, how you can have a glimpse of what this ritual is, which is performed each day.
And what will we see? We will see the screen divided into halves. On one side of the screen, Elena's data are shown. On the other side of the screen, another person which was unknown to Elena are shown. Along a timeline, there is a red bar which scans time, and there is an UTC timestamp that goes on up top the interface. So when the expressions arrive, they appear on screen, and a sound is generated reflecting the this data. No. And
this data, shall we see how they are generated or after?
Afterwards.
Okay. So we will see the video, we will chat, and we will explain how these experience work in a group and how people can.
Maybe shall we do it in the way which we did before, that you show the video from Canada? Because
it's
okay.
safer.
Exactly. Because
send me the link. Send me the link.
Yeah. The link is on the chat.
It's in the chat.
So always the Elena one.
Okay.
There. Thanks, Daniele.
All right. So let me just start share now.
Exactly. So you will see the experiment, the data meditation in Toronto with the class started on the 3rd of March up until today. So what you will see in the video is the whole is a wrap up of this 7 day of meditation. Sorry for the moment. Yeah.
So So what was going on? Very simple. During each day, the participants tried to use an interface to express themselves, no? Through several questions that we were posing. The current expression was focused on the relationship with the environment, so the possibility to be present in the environment, of understanding what is your environment, where are you at, no? also trying to contextualize it, because now we're at home.
But we are also in Toronto.
But we are also in Toronto, we are also in a conference, we are also in many other things. What do we have around us? No, so many understanding where are we at is not a banal question, no anymore. And how we are present or not present, what does this mean? And how do we feel comfort or discomfort in this environment? No, and what are we doing? No, this question have never been banal, but now they are turned really complex. No, so these questions were intended to help people to reflect on all this modality of the environment. And at a certain time in the evening, a ritual took place that sadly did not work really well in our experience, collective experience, because of all this trouble that we had. But what should have happened in this way for everyone? The meditation, the ritual, happens in couples. No, at the beginning of the cycle of the meditations, couples are formed, and everyone doesn't know who their other member of the couple is. It's a mystery. No, no one knows and cannot know who their other is. For the ritual, we converge on the interface. We wait until enough people is there. And we enter the meditation room. As an advice, we suggest people to be comfortable and to have to try to have at least 15 or so minutes of quiet and the possibility to be concentrated. The ritual is done through headphones, preferably, because on the left ear, you hear your data from the past 24 hours prior to the ritual. On the right ear, you hear the others data during the past 24 hours. And so if you think about what happens, it will be clear how you will start spontaneously comparing this binaural hearing that forms in your head, no? Because the sounds will be different on your right ear and on your left ear, because they will be yours and the others people data, no? And so you will spontaneously compare your lives as they go through time, no?
With rhythms and sound, and if you like to watch the screen, you can also, you have seen perhaps that the last part of the interface is dedicated to this message in a bottle. is something that we added after a few experiments to make people totally free to express and also to establish their own relation with these unknown others, which you don't know. Perhaps you can choose to present yourself, to give phone number or address, who knows, or you don't know. So this was really a free form. Okay, so we added this, and the reaction to this message in a bottle were very welcome. So and so you can read this relation, which is totally mediated just by data and computation. So there is this presence, this being there. There is this game about caring, but also producing data, also addiction to producing data. So many levels start to pop up as soon as you do the experience.
There are also people who get very angry because their other has not generated any data if this happens, no? So you see,
or
that
they felt obliged to produce data for the other. So
no,
it is not right or wrong, it's about exploring what's going on.
the possibilities, the potentialities. And the thing is that in any way you leave it, the other, another materializes for you. Okay, either if you're angry, even if you feel obliged, you keep on thinking about your other during the day, no? And this is a very important thing, because we have achieved this concept that we were looking for. And another thing,
Empathy.
And another thing is that if you think about it, and that's another experiment which we're planning for the near future, also a forest can generate data, also a mountain, a building, a city can generate, a neighborhood, a condo, no, a company can generate data, no? And so
the
maybe
marketplace can generate data.
absolutely enormous quantities of data. So in theory, data also becomes a common ground where two different types of actors, human, not human, no, can meditate together, can experience their the other's way of self-representation. And there is another, yet another characteristic which we have learned to appreciate about this type of experience, which is the phantasmatic character of data. Because in data, the voids are as important as the fullnesses, no? Because data has many voids, no? Has many, have many emptinesses, no? And the way in which the word is encoded through data has lots of spaces in between, no? As we know from the sampling theory.
On the other, for example, is a perfect example of this emptiness. So you can feel with your own imagination anything about this other that manifests during.
And it's what Marshall McLuhan called low resolution, no, media. And this low resolution forces you to interpret, to be a participant, no, to provide to provide what you fill in the blanks with, no? And that's another very important dimension which we have learned to appreciate of this kind of experience. And that's how the experience and the ritual goes roughly.
I believe also that we wanted to give some time. We would love this to be a conversation as well.
Absolutely.
So we have said many things. These rituals and those concepts are kind of the basis of what we call this new living, in which we are trying to go beyond extractive model and to create generative practices which are totally based on self-representation and, for example, autobiography. This we have already just heard is an extreme example of autobiography, because, for example, we can start to meditate with non-humans. So data has this new common ground among different type of actors and multiple type of actors of our complex ecosystems. Is something that is very important for what we are calling this new living, this nuovo abitare, and which we feel it is a dimension that we need to explore as a community of human beings, researchers, students, and also with our non-human actor around the globe.
Absolutely.
So Roberta and Elena, I believe that when we did the timing, we also really wanted time for people to express, being them colleagues that are here, and thank you for being here, or also the students that we have experienced these problematic relations but stay with troubles, no? So we learn from that. We love troubles, and we had a fantastic debugging session and chatting and we discussed things in the previous hours with the class. So we had a very already fulfilling conversation. I would love this also to be in the room and to share. No, so if you like, I would also stop talking and start listening. What you think, Roberta and Elena?
Yes, absolutely. There's so much to talk about. I don't know if we want to go with a bit of a question and answer period, or have more comments coming around. Roberta, did you want to say something?
I just have a quick comment before we get into the Q&As, and I think that there will be some questions. So while we are waiting for the questions to come, and also please, if the students wants to ask something, would be great. So I wanted to link what you just said with the whole series in general, and because I think that there's like you work on data, on non-extractive data, and on pointing to the complexity of data is actually very important. In the next few weeks, throughout our series, we will see, for example, tomorrow, how data becomes sometimes the focus of a lot of our activities, especially when we come to care. So sometimes we pay so much attention to data that we lose control of, or we lose sight of the whole of the body, of the whole of society. And I think that something that you're doing that is very important is to bring everything together still by highlighting the importance of data. So can you please elaborate a little bit on that and like tell us something about it?
Thank you.
If I can piggyback on Roberta, and just to say something a little bit about my own experience of the actual experiment, week-long experiment for the people that are listening from home. Even though, so for the people that are listening from home, the experiment did not go as we planned, because when we entered the meditation, the collective meditation every night at 9 p.m., those of us who were in the meditation, we couldn't see our own data that we had generated during the day. This said, both the experience of generating data during the day and even those 10 minutes with the same sound that was happening. So for all of us in this room, our experience in the week was just the sound bar, that very monotonous sound bar in the center. That was our experience, which in fact is actually something that in meditation is what you kind of learn to deal with. It's like the monotony of your breath, which then you realize it's not as monotonous. So there's something to say even about that without the data themselves. But one thing that did happen, and the comments that were circulated in the hour before we turned to the public, was we all became aware of just how much data we generate voluntarily and involuntarily during the week. This was a case, or during the day, this was a case where we actually inputted data. But I found myself thinking, every time I log on Facebook, I am actually generating data, not necessarily for myself, but like, again, that extractive aspect is not visible to us, but it's always there. And the relation to care that seems to be happening also in meditation. The other thing that I noticed while I was doing those 10 minutes with just the bar sound was a tension between an expectation of, is something going to happen on the screen? And then, oh, but this is a meditation. I have to just flow with what it is, with what happens there. So there's also that tension. And in a world where there's always saturated with wanting to have stimuli, that was an interesting moment of change of pace.
No, I would love anytime I have 10 minutes of boredom. I thank God, because we are so saturated. But apart from real jokes, as you know, our relationship with this kind of way of dealing with data was born with my brain cancer, and that's why also we are so happy to be here, because these two classes, Roberta's and Elena's, are the two sides, of our life. Disease, which, as we have seen also recently in COVID, in the COVID pandemics, which is a way to reveal many things and many paradoxes in our society.
And fragile.
And also technology, which is another way in which our society reveals itself. So this is an important parallel, an important parallel in which these two extremes of our coevolution, because cancer is a mutation is always an evolution. Maybe it goes in the wrong way in the case of cancer, but that's the mechanism of evolution in life. and also technology. No, human beings invented technology, and technology invents human beings. No, there is this state of co-evolution constantly. So for us, it's the it's the spot in which we find our research between disease, or better, health, and technology. No,
In the middle is the body.
absolutely, exactly. In the middle there is our bodies, no, as it expands and contracts and extends all over the world,
And make us sensitive.
Absolutely. So when we talk about these things, you remember, Roberta and Elena, where we started from. We started from when I was in the hospital, and I realized that all the data, all the images that were generated in the hospital were not for me. No, they had this abstract construct that was the patient, that was not me. Okay, this is where, and instead we changed the position of disease in society by making the data about me and generating other data that was different. No, and that's what we are still doing. No, in other way. The research center started in this way. The new thought movement of Nuovo Abitare, new living, was born in this way. Because when we reflect about the extreme condition which we find ourselves in constantly, that to be able to benefit from our rights and freedoms, to communicate, to relate with
to
people,
to represent, to express, as we said.
We have the constant mediation of computation and data. A new way of living is needed. In this condition of constant exposure to complexity and interconnectedness, we are not even able to read our world without establishing new alliances with data and with computation. So it's a really crucial and central things in our existence. Data and computation have turned existential.
Does it answer? Okay.
Yes, it does answer. I'm wondering if anybody has any question here to follow up. Otherwise, I have many questions. We have a student who has a question. You want to come here?
Hello. I'd like to talk about the context of data generation in regards to non-human entities. So in the week that we meditated through, it was kind of easy to understand how it works for humans. For example, questions were asked about our connection to the environment. But let's say we're talking about trees. Let's say we're talking about marketplaces. How exactly do you ask those new human and non-human entities what their relation to the environment is, or questions in the same context?
I don't know your name. If you
Ahmed.
Ahmed, thank you for this. Thank you, Ahmed. No, just to relate. So this is a wonderful question. Of course, we as humans have something in common. Our first technology, which is language. So we can the body. No, so we have a certain common ground so that we are able to express it. It is more direct. as soon as we have to deal with non-humans, of course, there is a level of mediation which come to the scene, and so of course we will talk with the forest or with the market through a mediation.
And I think the best way to answer this type of question is through a practical example. In Palermo, in the south of Italy, we have done a project which is about the health of a river which runs, the Oreto River, which
the river of
runs
Palermo.
in the city.
Sicily, Palermo.
Esatto. And we could have just filled the river with sensors, no? And the objective was to build an installation which represented constantly the health condition, the biological health condition of the river. And we could have filled the river with sensors, and that would be a precise way of measuring various chemicals, pollution, etc., etc. No? Instead, we chose to work on the concept of relation. So we created a social role for citizens, no? Which was the custodians of the water of the river. And so we created a new ritual in which instead of going as in the past to wash the clothes in the river or to take water from the river, you went to the river to collect data.
To generate here.
No? And that's another completely different way of understanding what data is, because data is a relation. No, data is a relation in which you relate yourself, you try to connect yourself with the environment. And there's also another very important thing, because the installation which we created in the museum, which is really nearby the river, is called Eco Museum Mare Memoria Viva, is a fragile technology. What do we mean by that? We mean that if people don't collect data, don't do the ritual, this the installation is like a plant, and it is even in the form of the plant, no? Of a plant which actually lives across that specific river. If the waters of the river, no, which in this case carry data, don't nourish the plant dies in the center of the museum.
But for real?
It auto-deletes its own software. No, it dies in the middle of the museum. So this ritual really involves people, no?
And it is exactly about the title of the seminar. They need to take care, and the technologies needs to be cared. So the technology, this software, this artificial, this computational agent needs to relate, is not autonomous, it doesn't live out of context. As humans and as all the creature on planet Earth, it is fragile and it needs to establish relations with this other, in this case, these humans, these custodians, to keep going, to be alive.
Absolutely.
And fragile technologies are one of the principle of the new living. So we try to build fragile, also fragile technology.
For this exact reason.
Which are exposed to limits, to boundaries.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. I really like the way in which you guys linked everything together. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Anyway, unless is there any question from the public or any comments, any final comment from the students? Because we are heading towards the end of our time. Tita came up, so somebody came.
I think we have a comment just in the chat from Dolores.
Thank you.
And it says, thank you, Elena, for the comment. I also felt the need to share. The sound really made me relive the lockdown here in San Pellegrino, exactly 2 years from the start of isolation. Then, like in your experiment, it did feel like slowly the sounds in life stopped. The regular street sounds disappeared. The ambulance stopped their sirens in order not to add to the panic. And then the church bell stopped for every death since the parochial decided that it would be too depressing. After living in a total void, slowly we started hearing the barking of the dogs and the blackbird's song and the roosters, etc. While slowly the formerly old normal sounds returned, and it became uncomfortable as during the isolation, the only way we're relating to one another was through data, even when using language. So number of degrees Celsius of our bodies, the number of nurses that had died in a given day. So reassessing. Thank you, Dolores, for such a wonderful comment and application.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions, you can add it to the chat for a final question.
Oh, thank you, Dolores. Okay, I think, do you have any question, Elena?
Yeah.
Do you want to say, Elena wants to say?
I'm still somewhere in between the problem of data extraction and data care, because it's a very a very fine line, a difficult balance. Just in terms of for example, even the question of the care for the river, right? And the relation to the river. Scientists do those rituals all the time of extracting data from rivers, extracting data from oceans, and they are trying to then warn us, etc. They tell stories through those data that are found. But how are we asking rivers about their data? The one thing that struck me also about what you were telling about the story around the river and the relation to the installation, and that we have to take care just of the technology. Technology is a mode of relation. Data are always, so we have, is it a problem of, let me see if I can word this correctly. We tend to read data as discrete entities, numbers that are just in themselves, but they're always potentially telling stories. And the stories they tell depends on who or what hegemonic code translates them. Does this make sense? So when you were talking about, Salvatore, your cancer experience, the data, you were generating data, but you were generating data for the expert to decode. And that was not, that there was a problem of translation, if you want, and given then to the expert apparatus of power. But the data in and of itself does not seem to generate story unless a language attached to it gets generated that is not specialized.
Or better, if it doesn't, if it isn't attached to other imaginaries. Okay, because what we focus really on is on ecology, which is not environmentalism, is the science of relations and complexity. Okay, we never search for synthesis. Okay, in our initiatives, whether they are in art or in science or both, society.
And generally, they goes both ways.
No, exactly. We never search for synthesis. Okay, we search for the capability to not have any synthesis. And this is exactly why we need new imaginaries of what these alliances can be with data and computation. Because when we speak about our condition of human beings in this hyper-connected world, we are constantly immersed in complexity, which means issues where each issue is the result of billions of interdependent variables. Okay. So I cannot understand and feel climate change by sticking my head out of the window. No, because it's not that. No. And cancer, I cannot think that cancer is about finding a molecule which kills two cells. No. Etc.
Even
no?
pandemics.
Data in the last centuries, in the last few centuries, what we call data was important because it could be counted, because everything was linear. No, and so data was important because you could count it. Now we are in a different kind of set of years in which linearity does not exist anymore. What exists is networks. And this is the reason why all sciences are progressively transforming themselves into network sciences.
And also art, if you watch it.
In this age, in these years of networks, data is not important because you can count it. Because in a network, where can you count? No, along this side of the network or along that side of the network. No, data has become important because you can find shapes in it. Okay, you can find the patterns in it. You can find, so the line is not the linear dimension is not the most important one. Fractals, attractors are important now. And this is the role of artificial intelligence, which find shapes in data. That's all artificial intelligence does. It finds patterns in data using fractals, using attractors as its main geometrical forms. And this is what's important. So once we had the linear, the calculator, now we have to establish different alliances with the computation and with data, which require completely new imagination.
Non lo vede.
It's private.
Okay.
I think that I see more comments coming, but so just so you know, so our time is up, but you two are going to join us tomorrow. So there's so much more to add. Tomorrow we will talk about more specific about data and the triage culture that has taken us by storm, and especially in the last couple of years, we've seen it in it's terrifying and fascinating form, right? So I think we can close this session today. So we will let you go. So we have construction workers who are trying to kick us out. But yeah, so thank you so much for this amazing session. Tomorrow we are having our session from 5 to 7. For you, it's going to be quite late, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be super animated as well. So for people at home, please join us tomorrow. And yeah, thank you so much for joining again.
And Roberta, feel free also to give our emails or anything for colleagues. If they want also to contact for anything, we are here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you again.
And I really encourage people to check out their website. It's very rich. There's all the projects that we're talking about, including the project with the river in Sicily. And yeah, thank you so much again. Thanks for your generosity. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.